Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's going on here on a soggy day. I'm your host, Dick Patten. It's a pleasure to welcome you back as we get ready for the big festive patriotic season, as I call it. And with Memorial Day coming up, and then, of course, Flag Day, and then the 4th of July, and, of course, mixed in between is the political season that starts on June 6th, it does. But anyway, I'm pleased to have with me as my guest Chris Ialuna, who is the assistant, or now you actually got up there to be the director of motor vehicle registrations, or what?
Bureau chief of the
Bureau chief, yes, of the
registration bureau.
There you go. Fancy titles, boy. But anyhow, I'm so glad to have Chris back, because when he was here before, we said we got to get him back in here because there's so much going on over there, and I don't know how do you keep up with it?
I don't.
I called your office number and I never got you at all, period. And it was crazy, but
yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know how many laws got changed this year in the motor vehicle part, but
we saw on the vehicle registration side. So my bureau, we oversee dealerships, inspection stations, mechanics. So the emissions program as well as under that, walking disability, vanity plates, boats, and all general registration aspects. We had about 35 bills just in registration.
I know when I was on that committee last year, there was some bills that got hung over on the summer because they were on his subcommittees on some of it. And that's what, excuse me, but that's when I was kind of hoping to be on one of those subcommittees. But what happened with the, on the handicap parking for, and there was one bill, if I remember right, it was involving the groups that were not, I think they were Christian Scientists, if I remember right, because they came and testified, and that's when I was on that committee. They came and they were supposedly nurses or what, but they're not, well, it's hard to say nurses per se, because they didn't go to a Concord Hospital School of Nursing or whatever,
right.
But they, you know, they're in Christian Science, but
the bill allowing them to authorize for placards.
Yes.
Yeah, that bill actually ended up being ITL'd or killed.
So that was dumped.
Yeah. So they ended up dumping that. I guess there was a lot of concern as far as if we allow this, then what? Then what's next? I think that was more so the concern. It wasn't so much that that this group wasn't able to actually do it, or a legit organization that could actually say yes, these people deserve to have a placard. But it was kind of almost the, if you open it up, then what? And I think that's kind of what it boiled down to.
Well, I mean, you look at the plates now, the specialty plates. When they opened, when one group won, when then somebody else wanted one, and somebody else, and they were getting flooded every year with it. I mean, it started with the Gold Star Mothers or something, of the veteran plates. Then you went into the ones who cared about the moose or the dog lovers. It didn't stop.
Right.
You know, right. So I don't know whatever happened with some of those plates, but
yeah, we had a lot of every year. I mean, as you know, on the transportation committee, every year there was at least 5, if not 10, bills heard just on new plate types, and we definitely were not opposed to adding any new plate types. It was just the sheer cost of manufacturing these plates, programming them in the system, and then distributing them to either all the cities and towns or all of the substations. And there was a lot of pieces to it. So we ended up having to oppose a lot of the bills. And then one of the things that we did do was come up with the decal plate. Yeah. And that was that's relatively new, and that was a regular license plate that has a 3x3 square, And what that allows to agencies to do is DMV issues the plate, and then the nationally registered 501c3 organization can purchase decals that, if approved by the legislature, can issue decals on these plates. So that's kind of how we got around. So now we just issue the plate and then send them to the 501c3 organization to obtain the decals. And that's helped an awful lot. And
I'm sure.
And we had 3 agencies that were currently allowed, and that was, and of course, it's going to slip my mind right now, but but anyway, we added another 10 this past year. So we definitely gained a lot of momentum with this aspect now. So there's 10 other agencies that are going to be participating.
One in particular was the university plate.
Yes.
And when I was on that committee, the argument that I had was, because they wanted it kept just to UNH, and I said, wait a minute, what about Keene State, Plymouth State, Granite State, and all these colleges that are kind of tied, the New Hampshire Tech or what? And I said, so you got Dartmouth, that people may want, hey, they went to Dartmouth, they want to be involved. So whatever happened to some of that?
So those under the university college system, so the Keene States, those ones, there was a bill that went in for the decal for that as well. So those are now included in it. It's now going to the governor for signature. So it's 60 days after he signs it. So, but that'll be back into, as far as Dartmouth, I don't believe Dartmouth was part of that bill as well. So if they're not, I'm sure it will be. So
then you got St. A's, Southern New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can see this there's another situation. It's going to snowball.
Yep. And Franklin Pierce University, another great university as well. And
so can I get one for Michigan?
If you can get some signatures in a 501c3, go right ahead. I know how's Michigan doing, by the way.
Well, they've just had graduation. They're in the playoffs for softball, lacrosse. They are. I don't know about baseball, but of course that's almost done. But football season will start up on Labor Day weekend, so I'm going out to see them play Southern Methodist in September. But but I knew that was going to happen because, I guess the thing is, New Hampshire per se is not a big state compared to New York or Pennsylvania, Texas, California. I guess maybe Michigan or Illinois. I mean, it's not as big like that to warrant all those plates. But I suppose if they can, some states have a lot of different colors, but it's I don't know, but it's just one plate basically.
The population has grown over the years, and the amount of registrations have definitely gone up since I've been with the state. We're now, when I started, we were probably around 1.4 million vehicles registered, and now we're about 1.55 million. So that amount has gone up. So we definitely have an increasing population here in New Hampshire, and we try to do whatever we can to welcome them. And we just actually had a bill go through this past year that's actually going to be helping new residents of New Hampshire. So currently, in law, we have a 60-day temporary registration, which customers receive when they come in, and that allows them time to obtain their out-of-state title. Then we had put into law the ability for us to authorize an additional 60-day plate if they could not obtain their title from the out-of-state lien holder in time within those 60 days. There are some lien holders that still can't get everything in within the 120 days. So now we're doing a registration denial. We're giving them a full year registration. And then we would not renew them the following year if they don't produce the title in time. But that's a huge win for any new customer. I mean, when you have any new person come into the state, you want to try to make them feel as welcome as possible. And to come up with a situation where they have to jump through a lot of hoops to get here and to get themselves acclimated here to New Hampshire. Obviously that's a challenge, but we're happy to do that and happy to see that went forward as well. So that's another within 60 days as well.
Now you figure with the elections coming up in the fall and stuff, you think there'll be a slew of new bills next year? Or?
I have a feeling. We had quite a few inspection bills this past year go through, and they all ended up dying, most of them in the House Transportation Committee. New Hampshire, historically, we as we all know, we're subject to 20 below zero up to 100 degrees on any given calendar year, and so the up through Class 6 roads and situations can happen, and so inspections are very important here, and inspections help keep some of the larger costs down as far as repairing your vehicles, and so that was under a lot of scrutiny this past year, mainly because we changed the location of the sticker to the lower left driver's side, and we also created a new what's called an on-demand sticker, which is a new style registration sticker that's out there now. We have about 400 to 500,000 that have been distributed out there so far. So wow. It's pretty exciting, but it's great for law enforcement. It helps with a lot of different aspects. It cuts down on potential fraud, and so really it's a win in a lot of ways. But
I know I picked up a lot of, I hate to say it, dissension on that committee this year, and especially about the driver ed and using the computer system for that off. They do the driver ed themselves at home and stuff, and I was against it last year. Mm-hmm. One of the members, she is a driving instructor, and I guess there were some problems there. But who's to say that someone at home is going to spend those hours on the computer doing driver ed training?
Right.
So I was glad that didn't go through. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any harm having the teachers do it or whatever, but
yeah. I mean, and that's today's challenge. I mean, the reality is people want to, the main argument there was that you can get a diploma online now. So if you can get a diploma online, then why aren't you able to do driver's ed online? And I think everyone can agree that there are portions of it that probably could be done online, but you also run that risk of how do you ensure that these people who are trying to obtain their driver's license are getting the adequate education and are prepared for the road, because ultimately you take one test and one accident is all it needs sometimes. So you definitely, driving versus obtaining a diploma, it's very hard to compare the two, so.
What gets me is I'd like to see sometimes a refresher course for some of these middle-aged drivers. Mm-hmm. We talk about the elderly drivers, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of middle-aged, and I mean not so much middle, but say like from the 20s up through the 50s or so, because I watched two cars go through red lights. Mm-hmm. Red lights, not where the yellow went to red. It was all red to begin with.
Absolutely.
No police car around. They went right through. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I thought, holy mackerel, look at that.
Yep.
One was on Main Street today at Pleasant Street, went right through the red light.
Yeah.
Last night was Hazen Drive coming out, going toward Airport Road. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what? It's a good thing nobody was coming. Then I got it. But nobody was around, so.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, there's always times that you wish someone is around.
Yeah, really. Mm-hmm. But No, it's got to be crazy. And then, of course, you've got the farm vehicles in there, the antiques.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I didn't realize an antique vehicle was considered something 25 years or older.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Christ, that means I'm an antique then. 25 years older.
Means I'm an antique too. So.
Well, you're not as old as I am. But yeah, I was surprised that Kiwanis have a car show every year down at the tech school in September. And we had them on for a show there, and they were saying, I said, well, what makes a car an antique? Well, something that's 25 years or older. I said, huh? 25 years or older? That means I'm an antique.
Yep.
You know, I thought it was one of these old, maybe in the 50s or maybe 60 years cars. Not these up here in the 80s now or 90s.
No, that's the crazy thing is you know, looking it up. If you typed in a model, I mean, basically you're talking for 25 years, you're talking a vehicle that was around 1992.
Yeah, that's right.
And really the reality is I was driving vehicles in 1992. So, I mean, it's to think of what was out there, and it's not much different than today's vehicles, really. So, I mean, it's interesting when we do meetings with the town clerks and we're educating them on antiques, and we say, hey, folks, this is an antique vehicle. And again, it's a vehicle that looks pretty identical to some that we have out there today.
I'm going to ask you a foolish question.
Okay. No question from you, sir, is foolish. So
this is going to be
okay.
But anyway, I'm a member of the Amish community, and I have my horse and buggy. Do I have to get that buggy registered? No, I was down in Pennsylvania, to the Amish country, and of course they're out in the middle of the street. They're not in the road. I mean, they're in the road.
Sure.
So I wonder, do they have to have a plate? Do they have to be registered?
So technically speaking, in the state of New Hampshire, any vehicle that operates on a way should be registered.
Okay.
So you can even present a challenge with a bicycle, even.
Yeah.
Because some of them are on the road.
Oh yeah.
So, but the laws are pretty loose when it comes to bicycles, even. So it's a challenge. But ultimately, what we basically say is, if it's operating on a roadway and if it's going to pass a roadway, even if it's going to cross a roadway, ultimately there should be a plate of some sort on it.
Well, I said the same thing about these scooter chairs. I mean, some of them, I mean, they're right in the road. I mean, yes, most of them are on the sidewalk, but there are some that are in the road.
Yes.
And some now have gotten trailers behind them.
Yes, I've noticed that as well.
It's like, wait a minute here. Or I've caught a couple of them pulling a shopping cart behind them. How safe is that? You know? It's like, boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's really taking risk with that stuff.
Right.
So do they have to get? I mean, eventually they're going to may have to get registered.
It depends. I mean, currently what I see out there ultimately shouldn't be, but you know, I wouldn't put them in the same class as any type of vehicle at this point. But you know, as technology grows with it, then that's something we might have to look at as well.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
We're looking at everything right now. It's things that in my wildest imagination I wouldn't think would happen are coming to be. There's you know, a lot of talk around about autonomous vehicles or fully automated vehicles, basically. Right now in New Hampshire, we actually have up to Class 4 in autonomous vehicles, and there's Class 1 through 5, and 5 is a fully automated, no steering wheel, basically. Which they're not, they're testing them in other states, but they've also been a few. They've gotten into car accidents, and unfortunately, a few have been fatal. So there's a lot of testing that goes along with that. But from even level 1s could be basically if you're moving along and you might have a lane departure warning or something like that. that there is automated. So it's partially, or any warning lights or anything like that, or warning sounds if you're backing close to a vehicle or something like that. That's part of the automation process. So it's really interesting, some of the technology, but I did go to a conference where they were road testing an 18-wheeler, fully automated, and that's concerning. That's very concerning.
Wait a minute. I'm going to stop you there, Chris.
Okay.
When you say fully automated, nobody's behind the wheel.
Correct.
And that thing, an 18-wheeler, is driving on the road?
It's right now they're not allowed to drive on the road. So they are allowed to be tested on the road. So tested only. So basically it's got to be in a specific testing zone that in many states is approved by whatever laws or rules that they have in place regarding these vehicles. But that's something that New Hampshire has been looking at. But yes, I mean, so like in our case specifically, if we were to, we have a law that's working or a bill that's working its way through right now to look for fully autonomous vehicles. But it's not something that we would want to put on 93, for example, or if we were putting it would be in a specific section that's labeled that no one would be driving in or something, just because it's for testing purposes, So we'd want to make sure, first and foremost, that public safety is not at risk by doing anything like this. So
I would not even step foot inside of a vehicle that was a car that was. I think I remember hearing on the news about an accident involving a autonomous vehicle. No way would I get in there. Mm-hmm. Bad enough when there's somebody driving that shouldn't be, but to have something get in it totally, nobody at the wheel, it's like, how does it go?
Yeah. Yep.
It's even like backing into a parallel parking spot. They claim they get them to do that. Mm-hmm. How can they do it?
There are vehicles that actually that are designed that can do that now. It's interesting. I mean, it's scaring. It's scary on one end, but it's exciting on the other end, because you don't know what exactly to experience. So.
And they're talking about the people who are unable to see, legally blind people driving a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That,
I mean, and honestly, the disabled community really has been a huge proponent of this, because they do feel that it allows them to have more mobility as well, and allow them to get from here to there. So so there's definitely pros to having devices or vehicles like this, but there are challenges that go along with it too. So I think we're quite a ways away, and from the fully autonomous vehicles. So I mean, I would say at least a 10 to 15 year before we really see any on the road. And that's just my educated guess based on the things that I've heard. So I mean, we have quite a while to go with that, but.
I mean, part of me, I can't wait to give up my license. That's how I feel. I hate driving these days, because you don't know what's going to happen, where anybody's coming from.
Right.
The other day, a fire truck was trying to come down Loudon Road, and I pulled over, and a car behind me tries to go behind, and I put my hand. I said, like that, and he beat the horn. I said, all of a sudden, fire truck come up and beeped the horn right at him. Mm-hmm. Then he had to somehow get out. But I felt bad. I said, what the heck is the matter with you? Can't you look and see if there's something coming behind you? Because I always look at those traffic lights too. If I see something flashing, I know something's coming. But you got some dodos out there that just don't pay attention. Or they may have their cell phones going, or they're texting somebody or whatever, but
well, hopefully not. That's against the law now to be doing that.
I know,
text them while driving.
I'm telling
you. Yeah. I mean, it's safety. I mean, everybody's busy. Everyone has places to go, and we understand that. We can appreciate that, but I mean, people. Bottom line is, you always have to allow yourself extra time to get anywhere, because you never know what's going to happen. One day, just even yesterday, I was on my way into work, and my main road that I was going on they were completely redoing the entire road. I had no idea, but I mean, I'm sure it was in the paper at some point, and I just didn't read it or whatever. But was I prepared for that? Nope.
No,
But
not.
it allows you extra time, you know, to get through and to get to where you need to get. And you know, hopefully we have people that, you know, heed the warnings of any sirens and slow down. I mean, same thing with buses.
Oh, yeah.
When the buses open up and you have the stop sign, you have people that drive right through that too.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a challenge, you know. But you know, we're at a different world. I mean, they never had that stuff when I was a kid growing
No,
up,
I
the
know
stop
it.
signs and anything like that, you know. But it was just starting to come out, I think. But yeah, it was.
Well, we got the ding
Interesting.
ding,
So
so
we-
we're done. But how many years you been doing this?
It'll be 8 years at the end of this year. So
Jesus.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we're really glad you came on, Chris.
Sure.
And once again, I promise we'll get you back on sooner because there's still more things to talk about in your department there that people are not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So, with
it's never
that
a dull
in mind-
day.
Huh?
It's never a dull day. That's
No,
for sure.
it's not. So I'll be giving you a jingle and seeing if we can get you back on in June. So
Sure.
not wait till July, but anyway. Well, any questions on motor vehicle or questions on registrations, be sure to give Chris a call, and that's at 271. What's the rest of it?
227-4030.
Oh, you got the Concord number? Now.
Yes.
227 what?
227-4030, and any of the staff that answers that line will be happy to help.
When did they take the 271 away from you?
We got a new phone system quite a few years ago,
there you
and,
go.
and so the 271s still work, but
Yeah.
they're all on the main 227 numbers
there
now.
you go.
So, yep.
Well, thanks to Ian Marx, my director, and have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you all soon around town.